Almost no one says this out loud, but there's a very specific reason why Aries leaves such a mark on the lives of those who cross their path. He creates karmic bonds. It's not an exaggeration. It's not drama. It's not meme astrology. It's that feeling that's too strong, too fast, too deep, that seems familiar from the first glance. And the most controversial part: Scorpio isn't the most dangerous sign for the heart, it's Aries. Because it doesn't hold you back through manipulation, but rather through target energy that he wakes up without knowing it. With Aries, everything starts intensely and ends. When does it end? It's hard to say. They arrive opening doors you didn't even remember existed and rekindling flames you swore were extinguished. And this creates a bond that is anything but normal. It feels like a reunion, like déjà vu, like a repeated story. The counterintuitive part? The more you try to rationalize it, the stronger the bond becomes. And the more you try to run away, the more your soul pulls you back. The big truth, which nobody wants to admit, is that Aries awakens parts of you that you don't control, and that's exactly where karma comes in. Because karmic ties aren't born from love. They're born from healing that hasn't yet taken place. And when Aries appears in your life, you already feel it. Something big is going to happen, and nothing will be the same after that. Aries doesn't conquer slowly. It ignites. It's that energy that arrives like an impulsive, hot, vibrant flame, catching you off guard and creating a sense of immediate destiny. Its intensity hits differently because it comes unfiltered, without calculation, without fear. And this raw truth activates something within us, almost as if the soul recognizes that ancient vibration. This is where the first karmic bond begins, without anyone noticing. What's most curious is how Aries evokes a sense of urgency. It makes you feel like you need to experience everything now, that this is the moment, that there's no time to wait. This emotional haste creates depth even before a real connection exists, and that makes everything hotter and more dangerous. Because when someone touches your vulnerability so quickly, the heart understands before the mind. And this intimate understanding becomes a connection that's difficult to break. Aries also has a direct way of revealing their truth, even when their shadow side unintentionally appears. They openly express themselves, showing what they feel, what they think, what they desire. This transparency creates a strong impact, as if you were facing someone who isn't afraid to exist fully. And this challenges your emotional limits, because it makes you lower defenses that took years to build. Not always because you want to, but because their energy forces it. And it is at this point that the flame begins to burn in the emotional field between the two. Aries creates a connection that seems simple, but which is born laden with an ancient, almost inexplicable depth. Something that activates memories that we don't know if they come from this life or from before. And before you can understand, there is already a bond. One of those that doesn't break easily. One of those that pulls back. And the strangest thing is that this is only the beginning. When Aries enters your life, there's a point where the connection ceases to be merely chemical and begins to feel like a memory. It's as if something inside you says, I already know this energy, even if you've never seen that person before. This intense familiarity creates an immediate, almost spiritual depth, as if the encounter were part of a destiny traced long before your paths crossed. And that's how the karmic bond strengthens without fanfare. Aries awakens dormant wounds with the same ease with which it awakens desire. It touches your impulse, your vulnerability, your shadow, and all of this comes to the surface as if it were just waiting for someone to light the fuse. The connection between you begins to reflect ancient dualities: attraction and fear, surrender and resistance, courage and escape. And each of these dualities reveals a piece of something that seems not to have just begun. The power of this bond lies in the truth that Aries demands without realizing it. It provokes you to be real, to face your limits, to revisit pains you swore you had overcome. It calls your soul forward, even when the body isn't ready. And this creates a connection that isn't just emotional. It's energetic, deep, visceral. It's as if one part of you awakens and another part trembles before the intensity of this awakening. And the more this bond grows, the more you feel that there is something greater guiding the story. A force that pulls you, that holds you, that reminds you that there is still something to be healed, resolved, integrated. And it is precisely at this point, when the depth becomes too strong, that the relationship begins to take on dangerous contours. Because karma, when it awakens, no longer allows one to live halfway. From this point on, the fire of Aries ceases to be mere attraction and becomes concrete emotional intensity. It creates an urgency that grips the heart, as if the relationship needs to happen completely, now, without pauses. This impulsive energy causes the bond to grow too quickly, and with it, an attachment is born that asks for no permission. It's a desire that surpasses logic, surpasses limits, surpasses any attempt at rationalization. And it is precisely at this point that the connection begins to become too karmic to ignore. Aries loves with truth, but also loves with need. When they feel it, they want it. And when they want it, they pull. This emotional pull mixes desire and vulnerability in a way that few people know how to handle. The duality appears strongly. While Aries releases you into the world, they want you close, present, whole. And this presence demands a price: the courage to sustain an energy that doesn't accept lukewarmness. Everything is either black or white. This is where many confuse passion with possessiveness, but it's not that simple. What Aries feels isn't control. It's the fear of losing what ignited the fire within them. This flame needs to be fed, it needs to be reciprocated, it needs reciprocity. And if you hesitate, Aries notices. Their silence becomes shadow, haste becomes anxiety, depth becomes demanding. Not because they want to dominate, but because they love with too much intensity. And when attachment comes to life, one piece breaks off and another awakens. You feel you can no longer escape what's happening inside, as if fate is squeezing your soul at the edges. And it's this emotional tightness that begins to make the bond dangerous, because the flame that warms also burns, and with Aries, it burns quickly. If this topic resonated with you, reminded you of someone, or made you recognize a pattern in yourself, like, comment, and follow now. This is just the tip of the iceberg in this karmic bond, and the next topic will explain why it's so difficult to break up with an Aries. Breaking up with an Aries is never simple, because the bond isn't just physical, it's born in the soul. When their flame touches your energy, something leaves a mark, something ignites, something stays. It's as if that karmic tie creates an invisible thread that continues to vibrate even when you're apart. And this emotional vibration pulls you back to memories, sensations, urgencies that you thought you'd left behind. But Aries doesn't let anything end so easily. What hurts isn't the separation itself. It's the intensity that remains there, alive, latent. Aries doesn't disappear from your energy. It remains present in the details, in the impulses, in the unexpected thoughts. It leaves traces of truth, of desire, of depth that you can't ignore. And breaking something that was lived with so much courage and so much commitment always tears something apart inside us. Not because it was perfect, but because it was too real. And the most curious thing is that Aries also feels it. He tries to move on, tries to pretend everything is all right, tries to hide his own vulnerability. But his flame doesn't just go out. When he returns as if he had never left. When he disappears, he leaves behind burning questions. There's an intense duality in this emotional back and forth. You drift apart, but remain connected. You try to break away, but remain linked. You want to forget, but keep remembering. It's karma. And karma doesn't let go before it teaches. That's why breaking up with an Aries is almost never definitive. Not because you need to stay together, but because there's something there that hasn't yet been healed, understood, or integrated. It's the kind of encounter that leaves a scar, not a wound. The wound closes, but the mark remains. And when life brings you face to face again, you'll understand that some bonds don't break. They just change form. And sometimes it's in that change that the story truly begins. After immersing yourself in this Aries energy, the question that lingers in the back of your mind is simple and unsettling. Why did this particular person affect you so deeply? If you've made it this far, you've already realized that this is no coincidence. Aries awakens, moves, shakes and tears away layers you've spent years trying to hide. They don't enter your life by chance, and they don't leave without a trace either. The question now is, what are you going to do with all of this? Take a deep breath and think. What patterns repeat themselves every time you cross paths with someone of this sign? What did this karmic bond try to teach you last time, and you ignored it? Where do you still feel urgency, fear, attraction, anger, longing? And most importantly, are you ready to break this cycle, or will you continue living stories that burn more than they illuminate? These answers define not only your emotional future, but your own healing process. So, if this content resonated with you, if it stirred a memory, a name, a feeling, don't let that insight die now. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following. There's a lot of profound stuff coming. And maybe it's exactly what you need to understand once and for all, why some encounters change everything, and why some bonds never break.